You do have to be quiet though, please. Okay?
We need some air guns in the back.
No, I'm just saying, like, as we get talking, it will affect it though. Oh my God, this guy.
Mr. Frecka, I just want to let you know I really appreciate your presence. These two guys.
No, don't bring me into this. This guy.
No, this guy's with me.
He had a hot mic moment earlier. You should check the record.
Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Triple F Collection. I'm here with Jordan, and we have a very special guest, Kevin Hines. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Kevin.
Hi guys, Kevin Hines from McLaren, Philadelphia. Some of you may have heard about me or what I do, what I'm responsible for. I'm the senior technician at McLaren, Philadelphia. Started out with the 12C and now I'm doing some really cool stuff.
So you are the only tech in North America that is certified to work on F1 cars, correct?
This is true.
On the McLaren F1 specifically?
Yes.
So, you know, I guess before we get to the F1 part, kind of bring us back a little bit to where your stint began, I guess what year, what got you into coming to the McLaren brand?
To the McLaren brand?
Yes.
Okay, so before McLaren, I spent 11 and a half years with Porsche. When I started at Porsche, 2002, I started there, I couldn't tell the difference between a 911 or a Boxster. I just knew that the building was really clean and the cars seemed really cool, so I wanted to work there. A couple other brands before that, but Porsche was really where I came into my own. We had a high volume dealership. I became known as the guy that would fix all the hard problems.
So you started there as a tech?
Yes.
At Porsche?
Started as a tech and worked my way up to shop foreman.
Okay.
And sort of the diagnostic specialist.
Okay.
Bob took ownership. You guys have met Bob.
Yep.
And things changed drastically for the better. We grew very fast. We started gaining a reputation. And when McLaren started their road car project, they tapped us as one of the first 9 points in North America. And the rest is history.
So did they point those 9 as just dealerships or service centers and dealerships?
Service centers and dealerships, yeah.
And now there's what, 27, 28?
Good question, I'm not sure.
Somewhere on there?
Yep.
Okay. Is that when it became Porsche Mainline, when Bob took over, or?
Porsche the Mainline, right, when Bob took over, that was late 2007.
Okay.
Right.
So you were at Porsche. Were you at BMW before that?
I was, yes.
So, like, what years were you at BMW? It's very interesting to get to where you're at now, being this, like, the only F1 tech to where, you know, Road and Track, they're doing articles on you, to where, like, just like those humble beginnings.
Yeah.
So I saw that you worked for BMW, so like, how did that begin?
That was my apprenticeship. So that was 97, 98. I got a job at just my local dealership in Wilmington, Delaware. It was Union Park. At the time, I thought I wanted to be a Pontiac technician. Okay. Because I was diehard Pontiac Trans Am. Owned 3 of them, still love them.
So big American Muscle guy, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So that's what was plastered. So just a quick aside, that's what was plastered on your walls, right?
Yeah,
Growing up was American Muscle?
I grew up at car shows, listening to like the 50s and 60s music with all the old hot rods and everything.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Where I grew up. Dad always had a classic car in the garage and he would wrench on the weekends and I would help him. Sometimes it wouldn't go so well, but.
So did you even know when the F1 came out, like in the 90s, were you like privy to that? Were you paying attention to it?
I had no idea.
No?
No idea. It was so, right. I mean, when you think about it now, it was just so far out of my world that there was really no use knowing.
Which is very different. You know, most of the kids and stuff, they're growing up with the Lamborghinis, the Ferraris, you know, like the crazy cars on their walls.
Yeah. So. I mean, I think right now it's a lot, video games are driving awareness.
True.
Well, that and I mean the social media. I mean, you know, before you. I mean, like I remember seeing a Diablo one time.
Right.
We're on vacation. I just sat there for probably 2 hours, just taking it in because I knew I wasn't going to see it again.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
So you just sat there on a curb. Just looked at it. It's like my parents are like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yes, I just need a little bit of time. I'm not going to see this again."
Need a little bit of time.
Yeah. So I mean, so it's you know it's all relatable though, whether it's American Muscle, whether it's somebody that's drooling over the F1 or a Diablo.
Right.
You know that passion kind of gets people. You end up in the same place. It's the same mindset, I guess.
Right. It's just cars in general.
Is what I'm saying. So BMW is kind of like your first foray into it into like the car world?
Professionally.
Professionally.
Right.
And were you a tech for BMW or were you a salesman? So you were a tech?
I started as a lot attendant. I walked into the dealership. I said I'd like to eventually be a technician if you have any spots. So we don't have any spots right now, but I mean, you can park cars and wash them. So I did that for a couple months, and they saw I was responsible. So they actually started having me drive around the owner of the dealership's mother. I was the personal chauffeur
for her. It's a good gig.
I mean, that's one way to find out if someone's responsible enough is by saying, here's the keys to all the cars on the lot. Oh, and you also get to drive the owner's mother around.
Exactly.
That's right.
And then, after 6 months of showing them I was a hard worker and doing all that, they said, well, we have 2 spots available. We have a spot in the Ford shop, and we have a spot in the BMW shop. And I wasn't so much thinking I wanted to do Ford, and I saw the BMW guys usually always seemed like they were having a good fun, and they were a good team. So I said, yeah, I'll check out BMW. And then that was the opening of the world to the European cars. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I was all muscle cars before that.
Sure.
So yeah, the first time I drove a BMW, I was like, oh, I get it. Mm-hmm. Europe knows how to do a thing or two.
So do you think that your European BMW background may have got your foot in the door with the position you have now a little bit, or?
Yeah, that's a good question.
To be chosen after your stint, when you started with the MP4 12C.
There was no, once I got into Porsche, there was no hiring or qualification process to move up. It was all it was recent past performance.
Okay.
So I never said no to a hard job. I always made sure that the job was done correctly, as best I could. I mean, things always happen with cars, but so just taking the hard jobs that nobody else wanted to do.
Yep. And
doing everything I could to get the job done right the first time, even if it meant I wasn't making as much money as I could make. I cared about doing the job correctly.
Which is really something that's missing a lot from today. I know we talk about it a lot, that the guys, and any piece of advice people are asking, like, hey, what can we do? Mm-hmm. Like, how do we get out there and like do what you guys do? And it's like, no matter what you do, have the passion and
whatever
do it 100% right.
Whatever you do. I mean, before I even started with my apprenticeship, like I said, I was parking the cars and washing the cars good. But before that, like working at the supermarket, if I was sweeping the floor, I wanted to sweep the floor better than the guy next to me.
100%. This is exactly what we talk about. Is like,
I feel like we've had this conversation so many times.
Like, make sure that the next guy that comes in to sweep the floor, they know that you're not the one working.
Exactly.
Because it looks worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whatever you do, like whatever project or taking a car apart, putting it back together, whoever does that job next, I'm very judgmental when I take a car apart. Like, who did this? Why is this like this? I don't want the guy that comes after me to be like, who was this? I want to be like, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing.
This guy knows stuff.
I think this is a good segue into, you did some years at McLaren, mm-hmm. and then do you want to allude to how you got basically asked to go to MSO Heritage and then work under, is it Panny?
Panny.
Because I read that you could tell every car that he touched based on how meticulous he was.
So what I was just saying with going into a car after somebody's been there, you can tell the cars that he's worked on because they're perfect. Again, he could do more work, he could be more productive, but he cares more about giving the car what the car's worth. And we all know that the F1 is worthy of perfection.
Absolutely, 100%. Well, because first of all, you were racing earlier, right? You had some racing under your belt.
Yeah. Never officially. A lot of go-karts, and then a lot of track cars.
And you were working on those cars yourself, right?
Yeah.
You were the tech working on it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that maybe helped have a leg up.
Huge.
In getting to this.
Yeah. So I had a personal motivation to learn a lot of things because I couldn't. It wasn't financially feasible for me to have somebody else do the work for me.
Yep.
And as we were just talking about, it's difficult to find somebody that knows how to do the job correctly. So I was like, I trust myself, most of the time.
Until you get on the track.
Right. And then you're like, oh, what's that noise? What's that? But yeah, so I followed my passion. I'm passionate about cars, so I want to know how they work. And that helps both do what I do outside, but also inside. So it's just following the passion. And that's sort of how I got into McLaren from Porsche, because we got that franchise. And then I wanted to do the same thing with McLaren. I wanted to make sure the car was perfect. If I don't make sure that that car is perfect when I'm done with it, it costs Jamie over there 2 days. It costs all that to get it done. So obviously there are things that pop up that beyond our control, but again, like aim small, miss small, go for perfection every single time.
Well, because I mean, to your point, it's a big burden. You know, for the people that want to go for perfection, want to do it right. There's all these other things that become burdens that a lot of people quite don't understand, and they don't understand like the cascading effect and what that has. Like, if I don't do my job right, there's this cascading effect and this domino effect that is wasting everybody else's time that you might not even realize. So like, do it right, do it to the best of your ability, and care and be passionate about what you're doing, no matter what it is, whether it's cars, whether it's anything else in the industry that you're in. And that's kind of, I think, how you get to a spot that you're in, where there is one of you in North America that's working on these cars. One of the things that I want to talk about is working for Panny is, was there any like hazing type things going on? Did he have to make sure that like, hey, I'm going to make sure this guy's good? Because I mean, seriously though, because like working and handing something off like an F1 project, and being probably as good and as critical as this guy is, like you're not just going to hand it over. Just to anybody. So like there had to have been something that's like, we gotta rough this guy up. We gotta see what this guy's made of.
That's actually incredibly insightful, Jordan. There was definitely a feeling, whether it was generated internally or a little bit externally, Panny probably a little externally, I had to prove myself.
For sure.
And you know what? That's the way I want it to be.
That's right.
That's, give me the challenge.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, you know, anything that we've been in, you know, I know when I first started working somewhere, you know, some of like the guys that have been there for 15, 20 years, they're like, who is this guy coming up?
Who is this guy?
You know, who is this guy? This guy doesn't know much.
Right.
So, and even if they do, they have to make sure that, you know, just because you know enough doesn't mean that that's enough for the job.
Right.
How are you gonna get through problems? How are you gonna persevere through these issues that you think that you can't get behind? So part of it's the knowledge.
Right.
Then the other part is how are you gonna react and deal with situations?
Right.
So that's like the hazing part, or like that's kind of a good, like, you know, there's certain ways to do it and ways not to do it, but it's kind of like, how is this guy going to react? Because if you can't react well under pressure, it doesn't really matter what you know.
This is not, it's not work to be taken lightly. Although we always try to have a good time with what we're doing.
Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
But you know him seeing you walk through the door the first time, it's like,
who's this guy?
Who is this guy?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm not handing this thing over to this guy.
It's the same thing that I would say. So when I'm training the guys, and training somebody and taking the time to answer the questions that I have to do my job, like that's considerable, that eats into his time.
For sure. Because
he and Russ are the only two guys that are like churning this stuff out worldwide. And now every 15 minutes that I take from him is 15 minutes that I'm taking from one of his customers. Yeah. Right?
Which is a great way to view it already.
So if I'm coming with a question, I've gotten a laser focus on what I need to know, and I will ask that as precisely as possible, unless we're hanging out.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So that, I figured that was somewhat of a process, because, you know, I've been through it. Other people have to go through it.
I think it's a lost art, honestly.
It is. Some places don't even have training curriculums, or, I mean, it's kind of a mess.
Well, and, you know, and that really only happens when you're really passionate about something.
Exactly.
Like that rite of passage, that making sure somebody's prepared for the battle ahead.
Right.
That happens when you really care. Right. And when it's really passionate. When you go into most places, you're probably not going to have it, because most people probably just don't want to be there.
It's just another
So they
job.
don't care whether you're good or whether you're not good.
Right.
They don't care about passing this very specific thing or trait or skill down to anybody. It's like they just, you know, so it's I guess it's really cool that like we're able to sit here with you and talk about it, and like you're like one of the only few people.
Right.
It's like just pretty amazing.
And like, I will never say that there's anything special about me or my abilities. Most of it was I was in the right place at the right time, with the right reputation, with the right group of people around me. Because this definitely isn't a one-man show.
With the right work ethic, right?
Yeah, I was going to
And
say.
the right
Work
mindset.
ethic, yeah.
You have that work ethic instilled in you, though, to put
Right.
yourselves in those situations.
Yeah.
So I feel like that went a long way. Question about when you arrived at Woking. They essentially just threw you in a car, right? I mean, you had a jet lag, I read, and
Yep.
you had to do a road test.
So Monday was, because I had never been to MSO before, and it's a little, you guys have been there, it's a little overwhelming when you go in at
We haven't
first.
been
We've
there
actually
yet.
never been there.
No?
Not yet.
How is that possible?
Well, we were supposed to go, but
We asked it,
2020 is like a lost year. So really, when we
True,
like beginning
right.
of 2020 is when we started to do a lot of things
so
with them.
when you
Soon.
guys go to MSO, it's
Yes.
a little overwhelming because there's a lot of projects going on, there's a lot of hush-hush things, there's some NDAs that I had to sign, a whole lot of stuff. So just walking onto that hallowed ground was something special. So that was Monday. And that was getting up close to the car, and there's a 9-page test drive checklist that we go through for the car, and it's everything. The obvious, like check to make sure the tire pressure is and the brakes and everything's capable of being driven, but also is it safe? Because we can't afford accidents.
Of course.
So we assume nothing, check the whole car. The next day was Tuesday, and that Monday was jet lag. I was walking around the hotel room 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning like, I can't sleep.
Right.
Big day tomorrow, can't sleep. That probably had something to do with it too. Then we went to MSO, loaded the car that I was training on into the rollback, and then Penny and I drove to Dunsfold, Top Gear Test Track. And
The Autodrome.
that was, it was quite a thing.
Yeah.
It was quite a thing, yeah.
So how long did you have to work with him before you were kind of ready to go off on your own and start working on F1s?
Right. I got 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
That's what I got.
I was thinking like 8 months, so like 6 to 8 months.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
2 weeks. Here you go, kid.
Wow.
So having been a dealership technician, let's see, that was 2017, 2016 that I went over there. 2017. So I had been learning new product since 1998. So almost 20 years at that point of learning new product quickly, efficiently. Boom, 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 boom. I know what questions, or I've figured out how to find out what I don't know and what I need to know. Anytime we get new training on a new product or unfamiliar product, it's give me the specifics of the car, because most cars are the same. They all have 4 wheels. Most of them all have 4 wheels. They all have an engine. They all have a transmission. The finer details, usually when you're doing your training, you can only absorb so much information in a short time. So it's where can I find this information when I do need it? And what are some things, like caution points? Where can I make mistakes? Let me know that and get that out of the way. And then, a quick tear down of the car. So we drove it on Tuesday, and then we spent the next week and a half taking the whole thing apart. Never got a chance to put it back together because there were other things. So again, here you go, kid.
Wow, that's very different than what I would have thought.
Yeah,
But interesting.
yeah. Like I said before, it's nuts and bolts,
Right.
right?
Although it is the GOAT,
It is the GOAT.
it is still at the end of the day a car.
It is still a car.
Yeah. And that's what makes it so fantastic, is that it's still a car.
It's still a car. It's just the best way to do a car.
Right. Right.
If you're going to do a car, you should do it like this.
You should do
Yeah.
it just like this.
Just like
I
this.
think everybody's still chasing it too. I mean, with
Oh, for sure.
the T50, the Speedtail, I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
things in the works.
I mean,
so-
really.
But
There's
you know,
nothing else like it.
nothing beats nostalgia though.
No.
No.
I mean, so it's going to be hard even if a car is actually better to beat people's minds.
The analog, the mechanical.
It'll just be hard. It's kind of like talking about Michael Jordan. In a certain way, it's just like, you know, like
Yeah.
people, like, unless like until that generation kind of comes and goes,
Right.
like it's just hard to be like, oh no, this is the best.
Well, times change and everything like that. And when you build a car, or when you design a car in 1992 or 93, you only had to meet this set of criteria, right?
Sure.
Now, because we like progress and we like things to be better and safer, there's a whole lot of things that automatically have to be included in a car. You know, weight sensing seats, rear view camera, you know, all these things that now would make it impossible to build the F1 again.
Yeah, they annoyingly have to keep you alive.
Yeah.
So it's a very annoying feature.
Think for yourself.
Yeah.
But no, man, we really appreciate you coming here, taking the 8-hour trip. I know you came to help us with our P1, which was awesome. I think you fixed it within
15 minutes.
10 to 15 minutes.
Well, the fix took 30 seconds. It took 10 minutes to disassemble and reassemble.
Right.
So for our short drive, we think it's fixed. Who knows, I might call you in like 2 hours and tell you that it's not fixed.
Well, I mean,
So-
We'll get you a hotel.
yeah, we'll be okay. We'll
But
figure
no,
it out.
thank you for sitting down with us, taking the time.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
It's awesome to dive into your history a little bit and just talk to, you know, a very young guy who's not a day past 22 on how he gets to this spot. So
Yeah.
we just appreciate your time, man, and thanks for coming out.
Absolutely. My pleasure.